Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We can say that now, right? I think we can. Phooey. Let's go ahead and do welcome, Skylanders and Skywatchers, to Vash Sky ParkCast. I am going to be your host today. I'm going to be Vash Sky, I do believe. I'm not mistaken right there. And we're going to be going over some news, going over all kinds of stuff going on with the Walt Disney Company for sure. Maybe some stuff with Universal. Depends on how far we actually get. I've also heard that Six Flags not doing so well. Oh man, especially Magic Mountain. They may have overestimated the value of some of their theme parks. Apparently, we'll get into that and much more. I'm going to try to provide a rounded out show going over all kinds of stuff, but most certainly the Walt Disney Company, because man, it is in the news, and not for the reasons why I think Josh Giamaro would like it to be. Crazy stuff indeed. But welcome all in. Thank you so much for joining us here. I see a few of our mods in there. Thank you so much for coming in. And as part of that, Juliet coming in here with the 5, I believe, British pounds sterling. Evening, Vash Sky ParkCast and Skyliners. Thank you so much, Juliet. Very much appreciate you, and appreciate you being in the chat and being one of our mods for us. Do appreciate that as always. Wow. Goodness gracious, what isn't going on with the Walt Disney Company right now? It is wild. I really did struggle with today's thumbnail and lead story because I didn't want it to be too sensational, obviously, but it is a big deal, right? I mean, you're talking about 1,000 people being laid off from the company, and apparently it actually predates Josh Giamaro. I know, kind of crazy. But we'll get into that and much more right here. I want to go ahead and bring in producer MJ, actually, who is currently in the back right now. The reason I'm doing this, yes, and I'm sure she's like, what are you doing? And no, I'm going to do this for a good reason right here, because I want to talk about this next story with her because, well, I think she's the only one that I can think of to really talk about a subject like this with as much empathy as I need to talk about this without, offending anybody or anything like that. You'll understand when I go ahead and bring on the story. But MJ, come on in here. Don't be shy. The water is warm. How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I love it back here. I really do.
I know you do. And I don't want to separate that from you for too long. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But I do want to go ahead and bring you on because this one, I've been trying to fold this into one of our shows for a little while now. I just haven't been able to, but I think it's time to go over this one. This is by Walt Disney World News Today here. Disney DAS discrimination complaint advances to state investigation after mediation deadline missed. Oh, this is no good. More DAS news, folks. Yes. People still haven't let this go because, well, they're still denying out there. This published originally April 4th and updated on April 9th, 2026. A discrimination complaint over Disney's Disability Access Service, or DAS, has moved into the investigation phase after a missed mediation deadline, according to commentary published by the Orlando Sentinel. And you can see the beautiful logos and everything there. Sorry about that. The filing comes from a guest who states recent policy changes made safe park access impossible, quote, for their family. A longtime Walt Disney World Vacation Club family says recent changes to the Disability Access Service program have fundamentally altered their ability to safely navigate the parks. This is a quote from that article. According to my February 24th declaration, Disney's operational changes to the Disability Access Service program and related transportation policies have materially impaired my family's ability to use that ownership interest safely and predictably. That featured in the complaint right there. The guest, a full-time medically necessary power wheelchair user, describes the system and suggested alternatives like queue re-entry or party separation as, quote, technically and medically unworkable, and in many cases, dangerous. After years of successfully using Disney's prior accommodations, they argue this is not a casual complaint, but evidence of a meaningful shift in access, stating, quote, what Disney presents as flexibility has become, quote, a high-risk multiplier for the family. Once committed to certain queue geometries, I can become physically locked in. Interesting. So when Disney points to new queue reentry, return time systems, or some version of, quote, attempt the queue first when DAS is denied, it's not offering my family a fallback for a guest in a chair like mine. That alternative is physically impossible. I want to go ahead and go over this particular aspect right here of maybe the claims being made. Obviously, it's all situational, and this is involving somebody who has, maybe accommodations different than any other person. MJ, I want to go ahead and go over this effect of DAS being, rejected from people who otherwise might actually need it. It certainly is an impediment and impairment from actually visiting these parks in the first place, correct?
Yeah, definitely. It's already an uncomfortable situation. I'm still trying to grasp exactly what they're trying to accomplish. Like, first, DAS is almost nearly impossible to get approval for, so that's
Mm-hmm.
one. And they
Mm-hmm.
made that process very intimidating. Many people who actually need it are not even applying because they're afraid of denial. They don't want the interrogation. I'm trying to wrap my head around this whole thing. So the cast members are typically, from my experience, accommodating. They ask you either when you first enter the queue line, are you comfortable with transferring to a wheelchair? Typically, these attractions have their own set of wheelchairs available that you can utilize throughout the queue line, or they'll
Hmm.
allow you to stay in your scooter all the way throughout the queue line and then either transfer to a wheelchair to board the attraction or ask you, are you comfortable walking up to the ride vehicle? And do you need help from a family member or a friend to board the ride vehicle?
Hmm.
I've had this experience in all the parks, actually. It just goes based on the park, the attraction, the queue line, and the cast members are supposed to be trained to be able to tailor to your needs. So they will ask you questions. I am a very forward person myself. I'm outspoken, as you guys know already. So I don't have a problem with going up to a cast member and telling them the one I'm talking about, one specifically at that attraction. I need this is what I need. Can you please accommodate me?
Right.
And as of today, I haven't been denied any service or request that I personally need. But there's a lot of people that are not as forward or outspoken. So they're just expecting to have their needs met, which is I understandable because everybody has different disabilities, right? Some are mobile, some are cognitive. So whatever you need, what I want to tell people is don't be afraid to talk and express your needs to a cast member because they're supposed to be able to assist you with that. So those are the experiences that I personally have had.
Hmm.
And if you really want to get in depth, I should probably really truly get to the nitty gritty and do a video on my experience on all of the rides that have accommodations for people with mobility issues. That's a must. That's really something I should look into because there's so many people that they just go into this flying blind and they're like they don't know how to um maneuver in this situation. You're already uncomfortable, you already feel like all eyes are on you. If you're in an ECV, people are already like assuming that you don't want to walk around the park, right? That you're just a lazy fool. And that's the unfortunate part because people unfortunately judge, right, a book by its cover. They don't know
Mm.
what you're dealing with. So that's the sad part, right? You're already dealing with that.
Well, I mean, it's also
Yeah,
extremely sad because,
yeah,
unlike a common guest, right, who might judge you and, I don't know, might maybe treat you differently.
yeah,
The judging process begins with your day at Disney when you maybe go to, fulfill you know,
yeah.
DAS services or whatever, or ask for those accommodations, and you're denied, and you're judged that way, which is
That is
never a
correct.
great never a great thing for sure. And apparently, you talk about outspokenness and forwardness. Apparently, they're going to be asking their lawyers to be outspoken on their behalf. The family's concern has now moved to a formal legal process. The guest states, quote, "I used the process I documented. I preserved evidence and filed a discrimination complaint with the Florida Commission on Human Relations. According to the complaint, the case, FCHR number 202-611-9734, filed on February 20th with the State of Florida Commission on Human Resources, has proceeded to the investigation after mediation did not occur before the March 18th deadline." And that's no good for Disney right there, because usually there would be a mediation process that takes place. It's kind of like, what is the legal term? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But essentially you have mediation proceedings that should take place before a formal trial actually begins. Apparently, Disney, I believe, failed to respond to that in a timely fashion. That's why this case is proceeding forward. I'm hoping that a lot of these legal challenges and so forth have some outcomes that are substantial for guests visiting either Walt Disney World or Disneyland, because I think Disney did overcorrect. They went into way the opposite direction. Now, there have been multiple times in Disney's history in which they've cracked down on what they feel as, abuse of their systems, right? And that's what they cited here. But we all kind of know why this is being done. Let's be honest. It's to elicit lightning sales. That's what it is. Now, I understand there was an increase in DAS usage, right, for a period of time that they want to go ahead and mitigate. But, internally, they saw that there were more people in Lightning Lane than people on the system, substantially more, and that cut into profits. So when you have that kind of profit incentive, this is why these things, work out the way they do. I understand people are like, well, no, they cut it down for multiple reasons. It's like, yeah, I mean, sure. But yeah, arbitration. Thank you so much. Now it's done. Appreciate that. Yeah, a little streamer, failing there in the mind there. Do appreciate that for sure. It's just difficult, I guess, to see so many people now say, hey, not only am I denied, but I'm just done with Disney, or I'm done going to these parks because I can't be accommodated in the way that I need. That's heartbreaking. And we heard some statistics involving this at the recent shareholders meeting for Disney for that proposal that was struck down. That was no good. But, there are a lot of people who are taking it into their hands now and saying, hey, can we push back against some of these changes and get our needs met and accommodated? I'm hard to say if this case is actually going to go and amount to substantial change, but I hope it does. I'll put it that way.
I agree with you 100%. And I really think that Universal has gotten the message and they don't want any trouble. And that's why my experience going to Universal is completely different from going to Disney. As far as questions being asked and whatnot, the process to get your disability access pass, someone in the live chat will probably give me the proper terminology for that specific pass that you get from Universal, but it's way less intimidating and much easier to obtain. You have a more enjoyable day. You do get a wait time. You get a time to come back. So you go to the attraction that you would like to ride. The attendant, the team member puts the time when you should return. So you just have to either do something else in the meantime, and then you just come back at that time that they give you, and you board. They take you right to the ride vehicle. That's the experience. But like I told you, I've already gotten denied personally twice from DAS, and that's why when I go to the park, I go straight to the cast member for that specific attraction, and I really encourage anyone else out there with their with a need to talk to the cast members. There's a lot of them that will empathize with you and just understand that you were denied and you need accommodations, and they will help you. And but if you don't say anything, they won't know. they just assume, right? So.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And there are multiple ways in which cast members can assist you when boarding these attractions right there. I mean, there are some attractions that, you have a mobility scooter and so forth. You can't actually get through the line. And if you can't, transfer to a wheelchair in order to facilitate that, or maybe it's just so narrow that it can't even accommodate a wheelchair in its design, there are some other things that can be provided in order to get you on board your favorite attractions or rides. Thank you so much, MJ, for talking about this subject. I know it's it can be difficult because obviously there's a wide spectrum of people out there who view this story very, very differently. Very sensitive, obviously, to some, and I do appreciate you being on the panel and providing a little bit of your commentary. That's so needed. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and MJ. I know you like the back, so we're gonna go ahead and place you back there. And yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate MJ being back there, holding down the fort, as it were. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get some people here recognized for their support of the channel, like Mary Vita, for example. Welcome to being a Sky Watcher. Oh man, I think we've got the membership situation all figured out. I think we do, but people I've heard are still having problems with the iOS or trying to sign up via iPhone, and that's no good. If anybody can relate to me whether or not they've been able to successfully do that on their iPhone, that would be greatly appreciated. But Mary Vita, thank you so much for coming on board, and it's great to see you. Looks like Disney Fan 55 sent out 5 Vash Sky ParkCast memberships to all of you. Now you have 5 new Sky Watchers in the chat. I do wish this worked on day one, but alas, now it's known. Axonmetry, I do believe. Metalcore Breakdown, Chameleon Strikes, and Troy McDonald. You have Disney Fan 55 to thank for being a Sky Watcher, and I do thank you for tuning on in and celebrating these shows with us by watching them. Very much appreciate that. That is awesome. By the way, this Saturday usually would have a members-only live stream, but we have had so many problems with memberships and so forth, and just the week that we've been monetized right here, I decided, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's open it up to everybody. Yes, if you are a Sky Watcher or not, as long as you're a Skyliner, that is, you can come on in and see that show. That's going to be available for everybody. That's going to give the ability for people who aren't a member or couldn't receive a gift membership and everything else to actually come on in and preview some of those membership offerings. I think that's a pretty good way of handling it right there. As kind of a make good to people who actually couldn't be a member, had problems, had issues. You can come on in. Now, for those people who are members, we'll go ahead and make you whole. Don't worry about that. And we will do our best in order to provide you all that full value of what you're actually signing up for. But I just wanted to go ahead and open it up to everybody just a little bit right there in order to say, hey, thank you. I know we've had some problems. We've had some issues because of YouTube and everything else. But hopefully you enjoy that perk. Mary Vita coming in here with the $4.99. Just use my iPhone to become a member, Vash. Yes, absolutely. That is awesome. Great to hear, Mary Vita. Thank you for that. Very much appreciate that. Yeah, I think we'll be okay then. So it'll be open this weekend here for everybody, and then later on, we'll go back to members only streaming, at least on Saturday, right there for Vash and Vixen, which people really did like. People really did enjoy. So come on in, enjoy the program, and hey, you know what? You want to go ahead and become a member during that? That'd be cool. Okay. All right. I think that just about covers that whole thing there. Let's go ahead and get to the real meat and potatoes of the show. And that being, what y'all clicked on for, that was, at least the way that New York Post is describing this, a bloodbath at Disney. Yeah, it's going to get a little morbid, I guess, with the terminology, which I'm not fully comfortable with. But here you go. Bloodbath at Disney, as up to 1,000 jobs are set to be axed, with new CEO revealing his master plan. New CEO being, of course, Josh D'Amaro. Disney's planning mass firings in the coming months as new CEO Josh D'Amaro forms the company to his liking, reports say. Up to 1,000 employees are expecting to receive their pink slips from the company with the famous mouse. Most of the cuts will be from the marketing department. Disney's reacting to intense competition from Amazon and YouTube in the tech and streaming spaces, the Wall Street Journal reported. We'll talk about the marketing thing in just a moment right here. Let's get a little bit more context. D'Amaro replaced longtime Disney CEO Bob Iger in February. We know that. The company's board voted unanimously to install D'Amaro as the entertainment giant's next CEO. The new cuts were planned before D'Amaro took power. Disney laid off more than 8,000 people since Iger returned as the company's CEO in 2022. And I want to go ahead and go over that just a little bit right here, because a lot of people are giving Josh D'Amaro a lot of feedback regarding this whole update, right? Because this is really one of Josh D'Amaro's first moves as CEO, coming into the Walt Disney Company's corner office with the shower there. It's just one of his first things. And a lot of people who had faith in him, a lot of people who had their hopes set on him, unfortunately, they were disappointed. But I'm going to do something pretty crazy here. I'm going to defend Josh D'Amaro just a little bit. Now, look, ultimately, you made the decision. You went forward with this. It's going to fall on you. It's going to be on your shoulders, and rightfully so, right? You can't really point to anybody else. This is why I said, Josh, when you get into the big seat, you can't hide behind anybody. You're going to be the guy. And in this case, he is. Okay, fair enough. But as the article points out there, and as the Wall Street Journal pointed out there, these cuts predate Josh D'Amaro. And to be honest, it's actually happening under somebody else. This is happening technically under Asad Ayaz. Yes. If you haven't heard about who Asad Ayaz is, he's basically their kind of chief marketing officer, if that's a description that fits correctly. I believe it is. He's changed positions around a couple of times, but he's basically like their... Think of him as kind of a communications officer a little bit right there. Let's go ahead and put this B-roll on, because I think this is really fascinating to see this all happening at the same time that the marketing department is actually getting criticized for, the chief brand officer. They changed him a little bit there. Sorry about that, guys. At a time when the marketing department is being scrutinized, now we're hearing about 1,000 cuts, largely in that division. And it's like, why is that happening? Well, the Wall Street Journal actually goes into it just with a little bit of depth right here. Let me see if I can go ahead and put that on screen, because I can't put the entire article, but I want to go ahead and highlight this one specific point right here, because I think it's really, really fascinating. But the marketing department is being criticized for a whole host of issues relating to Avatar, which I thought was really, really interesting. I had a great discussion with OG55 actually last night, and that video premiered last night. If you haven't seen that video, guys, you should definitely check that out, because we go over, Avatar maybe possibly being replaced by Zootopia in Disney's California Adventure. And that goes back to Drew Taylor's article in The Wrap, which outlines his case as to why that might actually be the case. But one of the things that Drew Taylor was actually mentioning was that the marketing department was being criticized for not making Avatar Fire and Ash the event picture that the James Cameron team felt that it should have been. The marketing for that film was very, very close to Way of Water, and it just didn't separate itself from the rest of the franchise. It wasn't necessarily like must-view, viewing, I guess. Must-see viewing? Yeah, there you go. That's the one we can go with right there. And, well, with that shadow being cast over the marketing department, now you hear this. It's very, very interesting stuff. Let me go ahead and put up just a portion of that Wall Street Journal article. Again, I can't show the whole thing. I can show just a little bit here. All right, here you go. Disney has been consolidating long siloed operations to cut costs and coordinate its efforts across divisions, particularly online. The company combined marketing for entertainment experiences and sports under a single chief marketing officer, Asad Ayaz, for the first time in January. Ayaz's plan to unite the marketing group and reduce expenses is codenamed Project Imagine, according to people familiar with the matter. Disney is also combining the staff of its Disney Plus and Hulu streaming services as it goes about merging both brands into one app. Yes. So this is a consolidation effort that, it does predate Josh G. Morrow, right? And so I don't believe that the full, weight of this whole thing fall completely on his shoulders, right? He did inherit kind of a bad situation from Bob Iger. We all kind of know that. And remember what Bob Iger did when he went back into the chair. Well, when he came back after Bob Chapek, he fired, 7,000 to 8,000 people. And everybody didn't give Bob Iger the consternation that I'm seeing now for Josh G. Morrow's actions. It's like, what's going on there? That's a whole, can of worms into itself. But when I look at these cuts here, and honestly, you got to look at the entire media landscape as a whole, right? It is crazy what is going on. And now you've got sources like Hollywood Reporter coming out there saying, hey, California's creative job losses aren't AI casualties. Key report finds that's no good, right? People are coming around to the idea that, yes, AI is going to have a transformative effect on the entertainment landscape. There's no question about that. But that's not all that's happening. You can see right here, now it's known who... Mac, you in there? Yes, I believe he's in the chat right now. Now it's known. Right, that's you. Okay, I do believe so. You can see this amazing chart here that he posted. You can see even within Disney's empire, right? Most of the revenue right now, in kind of that orange salmon color that you actually see on screen, is coming from the parks division. Very little of it is coming from the studio entertainment side of things, the media networks, and all of that. Media networks being in decline because, people are cutting the cord, they're going to streaming, and they're going to all these alternative services in order to get their entertainment content. People aren't watching less. They may be watching more, but they're more varied in how they're in their consumption habits for sure. And you can see that reflected here. But this is happening industry-wide. If you see right here, this was posted April 2nd by Mac. Now it's known. Thank you so much for that. You can see right here. This is from the Wall Street Journal originally. In 2021, this was Hollywood's job market. You can see there, 18,560 jobs in television. That's now down considerably to 6,582 in 2025. I would presume lower in 2026. See right here, even in commercials, right, it went from 5,319 jobs now down to 2,742. Feature films, 3,406 down to 1,999. This is days of on-location production activity in Los Angeles. Okay. This is major, what is going on in the industry. Now, some of these productions are moving out, right? They're moving out to different locations and so forth, and these things are still getting made, but a lot of things aren't. Hollywood's pulling back. They're not accelerating. And, if you look at Disney's chart right here, you can kind of see why that is. Not a lot of people are engaging with these kind of, legacy media platforms like linear networks and so forth in the same way they once did. This is why Josh D'Amaro got the job. If there was still emphasis, right, on media networks and films and so forth and, other parts of that flywheel, maybe Dana Walden's the gal that gets the job. But I think the Walt Disney Company made a big statement in that in selecting Josh D'Amaro, they were saying, look, our revenue, our business, who we are, it'll be more parks-oriented now more than ever. And you can see the results for yourselves as to why they made that assessment the way they did. So when I think about the marketing department, even Drew Taylor in his Wrap article outlined how they spent, $150 million at least on the marketing for Fire and Ash. And that film ended up doing, $500 million plus less than the previous effort 3 years prior? That's crazy. That's nuts. And so I can understand why you want to go ahead and make cuts in this arena. The problem is obviously, these aren't just numbers. These are people's lives. These are people's livelihoods. These are people's families and so forth being affected deeply by these cuts and by, I would say, the negligence, really, of the Walt Disney Company and how they've shepherded their brands, their movie franchises, etc. This shouldn't be happening, and yet it is. This, I believe, some of it was avoidable, and yet they didn't. So, it's really unfortunate all around right there. Not at all very good. I take no pleasure in reporting in some of this stuff. I know some people are like, well, Disney, whatever. These are people, and we have to always remember that it's really tough to see this. But I guess this is the natural outcome for some of the waste, honestly, that Disney has indulged themselves in, right? It's just really, really terrible. Now, for Avatar and that going forward, who knows if that franchise is even going forward. And now they're reassessing the whole thing, and, well, we're going to have 4, we're going to have 5. Are those still on the table? Who knows? Valiant Renegade's saying, hey, wait until they have these conversations about Marvel. That's not going to be good. It's just a lot of stuff swirling around here, and these are a lot of problems that Josh D'Amaro is having to confront and deal with. We just had that Bachelorette scandal in which now they're going to have to pay back tens of millions of dollars to advertisers and so forth for ad blocks that they've already sold. We're talking about the end of Sora and how the entire AI landscape is shifting right here. Apparently not a lot of enough resources to go around. That's unfortunate. And then you have Epic Games there. They're cutting jobs. And again, the entire industry is doing this. Sony just announced 1,000 jobs being cut over there, at their various studios and so forth. We're hearing cuts maybe in the works for Paramount Skydance as they acquire Warner Brothers. It's no good. It's absolutely no good. It's not what you want to see, and yet that is what we're seeing. So yes, there is going to be criticism falling on Josh D'Amaro's shoulders. Again, like I said, rightfully so. But you're going to have to make some tough calls here. You're going to be the guy that is not going to be liked and loved, like when you actually walk around the parks. You have to be that guy at certain points saying, hey, we got to make the tough decisions right here. And again, not all of it falls on Josh, right? He inherited this position from media bosses that, had they done things differently, maybe we're not in this position. I'll put it that way. So there you go. That's what's going on right there. See, OG55 in the chat. Awesome stuff right there. Welcome on in, good sir. By the way, if you haven't seen that video between OG and myself going over what happened with what might be happening over there at Disney California Adventure regarding Avatar maybe being replaced with Zootopia, based largely on this article from Drew Taylor right here, you have to see that. That is some really, really entertaining stuff. It's actually as a collaboration link in this channel right here that you can actually view for yourself. Now, I want to go ahead and go over something else that we're seeing in this changing landscape, not with media and entertainment, but with theme parks. Here you go. New pilot program allows Disney VIP tours to be booked as vacation package add-on. This by Blog and Mickey right here, April 7th. I'm going to go ahead and turn the dark mode on. This by Mike. A new pilot program launched today, allowing travel agents to book Walt Disney World private VIP tours as an add-on to vacation packages. And this allows guests using a travel agent to see their entire vacation in one place and as one package. It's unclear if this pilot program will eventually extend to guests booking their own vacations or not, but here's the latest. Let's see. Starting today, travel advisors can now book VIP tours as an add-on to vacation packages as part of a special pilot program. This functionality is not available to normal guests using Walt Disney World websites yet, but it's unclear if or when this functionality will be available to all guests doing that. But currently, guests wishing to book a VIP tour at Walt Disney World would need to call to make a reservation. But in addition to being able to book a VIP tour as a vacation package add-on, Walt Disney World has extended the booking window to beyond the standard 6 days in advance. That's interesting. It's unclear how far in advance a VIP tour can be reserved during this pilot program, but it is presumably under the same policy as your vacation package. So this is why I brought up the DAS issues, right? Because with the crackdown on DAS, we are seeing more of these kind of extra add-ons and pushing out these things. Yeah, Mark, how expensive is it? Okay. This is an interesting question because it fluctuates just a little bit right there, but considerably. Okay, so I believe let me just take a look here just to give you an idea of how expensive these VIP tours are. They are a lot, and they have minimums that you have to seek out. Yeah, Disney World private tours cost between $450 and $900 per hour, depending on the season, with a 7-hour minimum requirement. Do the math. That is quite a bit. You're talking about anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000 for these VIP tours. I remember a time when these VIP tours were like, you almost never saw them, and they were really limited to basically celebrities that were being transported around. I know that there are benefits with Club Area 3 to give you a certain amount of them and so forth, but it was really limited to people who wanted to be a little bit inconspicuous, incognito, and go around the parks and bypass, maybe standing in line and maybe be accosted by people who were actually in line with them. Fair enough. But this right here, to be adding it on to your, travel package, I think is really, really substantial. That is definitely an escalation in this business right here, and just kind of shows how much Disney is pushing for these extra cost add-ons for these parks. Now, Sean Ranks the Mouse, which, by the way, I gotta have him on. Talk about some of this stuff. Wow, fantastic news for us travel agents, but even better news for the future of VIP tours, making them easier and less frictionless as a win for those utilizing it. I do agree with that. I just don't know, this idea that every single person's a VIP has kind of been lost. Now it's kind of like, well, if you want to be a VIP, you got to be paying into these extra services. I'm not saying VIP tours didn't exist, but they were less emphasized. It was a little bit more hush-hush than it is now. And I think that kind of change in mentality, there has been this layer of, well, we're special, you're not, even though everybody's paying $200 to get into these parks. It's just kind of this weird shift in tone, and it's something I don't necessarily appreciate, and is something that Michael Eisner himself was talking about recently in those what is it? Who was it Bessinger? The podcaster who decided to interview him in those amazing recordings there. He talked about how, that's changed, that's shifted, but oh yeah, Bob Iger, he was great at it. He's fantastic at running these parks, much better than I am. It's like, really? Is he? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that. I do wish we would get maybe a little bit away from, separating these services out and charging for these extra cost options and all of that. I don't think that's ever going to go away, unfortunately. But VIP tours definitely becoming part of the conversation between the haves and the have-nots. When you're going to these parks, hey, you want a deluxe dining experience? How about 21 Royal for $18,000? If you're going to, I don't know, Disney California Adventure, how about Napa Rose for $180 minimum per person to actually eat there? It's just all these kind of things where it's like, wow, these are very luxury items, luxury places for a dissolving, what was previously a now dissolving middle class. So most unfortunate, but that's what we're dealing with right here. So there you go. VIP tours now being expressly emphasized. Ugh, no good. Don't like that at all. But c'est la vie. Okay, let's see right here. What do we have next on the table when it comes to coverage of all of things theme parks? Yes, let me see right here. It looks like Olaf is going to be coming from not just Paris, but he is going to be introduced to parks around the world. Actually, starting with Disneyland. This is kind of very, very interesting right here because even after his spill right there where he landed and his nose flew off, well, I guess Disneyland is like, hey, we want some of that. It's an interesting idea. I can't wait for him to make his debut at Disneyland, and I see him on social media, and I never see him at the parks. That's going to be absolutely wonderful right there. Just like those little freaking robots at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Scott Gustin reacting to New York Post's article right here. In 2023, Walt Disney Company's CEO Josh D'Amaro gave hope at a Florida Investor Summit by discussing the possibility of this magical land coming to Disneyland and possibly Walt Disney World. I don't know about that. I can see why Scott Gustin is reacting to this in this way. But you know, as we get into these new character experiences, the other thing that we have to also realize is that anybody playing Olaf, which I guess somebody was for Disneyland Paris, well, now they're being replaced by a machine right there. That's, you know, not awesome, but c'est la vie. That is what's going on. Now, one could argue that, hey, you're going to have a bunch of maintenance technicians that are working to maintain this specific character and maybe even more characters if this company actually rolls out more of these little characters come to life right here. That'll be kind of interesting to see. Also, too, you're going to need people to program them and actually manage them and so forth. So maybe there's a balancing act for sure here. But that is what's going on. There is some hope, though, on the audio animatronic front right here. It appears that after Tangled had that little incident involving the crows, that being Rapunzel, I'm sorry, you can see right here what that actually looked like. If for people who might not have known what this was, crows attacked her. It was terrible. It was bad. This happening at Tokyo Disney Sea right there in their new Fantasy Springs area. Well, she has returned atop her tower. This confirmed to us actually 8 hours ago by Scott Gustin and others. You can see right there, she's back. Rapunzel has been restored. Now, it looks like she still has hair, which is very, very interesting. Thought we would have gone with something different. Maybe there's something in there that prevents these crows from attacking again, because crows are smart, okay? They got memories. They'll go back. So hopefully there's something there to deter that action. Obviously something that's safe, but something that deters that action from actually happening again. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be the case. We'll have to monitor the situation, I suppose. But at least for right now, Rapunzel is singing once again atop her tower there at Tokyo Disney Sea. Some people say the best theme park on the planet. There's this one story, though, we covered yesterday, actually, the fact that, well, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Walt Disney World, being closed for more than a year, is finally opening on May 3rd. Big news right there. And it's opening with a lower height requirement, going from 40 inches to 38. Good stuff right there. But this had people talking. This by, well, Darth Vader 92. I'll just go with that. And maybe Matt Dabrowski, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. There you go, on X. Big Thunder cycling this morning at Magic Kingdom. Definitely a lot slower, which probably accounts for the lower height requirement. Okay, you can see right here what people are kind of reacting to right here. As the don't look at the trains being transported up the lift hill. Look at them coming out from the tunnel and circling around. That's what people are reacting to, and you can see it is a bit slower than we have seen. Some people reacting to that saying, oh, did they actually like reduce the speed of this coaster? That's how they were able to achieve that 2-inch reduction in that height requirement and so forth. Is it not going to be the same adventure, the wildest ride in the wilderness that we've come to know and love? Well, apparently that might not be true. So let me see if I can go ahead and bring this video up right here, because I did a little research on this, because people were reacting very, very strongly to this, and it's like, okay, let's go ahead and get to the bottom of this. I looked up this testing video of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, actually available on YouTube. from Blog Mickey. I know, Blog Mickey, we feature them quite heavily on this program right here. Apparently, they also have a YouTube channel. And in this testing video, they actually tested with water dummies. That being the testing methodology used in order to get a sense of how a coaster is going to perform when fully loaded with guests. You can see right here, when those test dummies are actually in place, it is much, much faster. Let me see here. This was posted by Blog Mickey 4 months ago, going over the testing for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And let's see if we can actually play this. If it'll work. Come on, YouTube. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead. And you can see it going up the lift hill with those water dummies in place. And as it comes around the bend right here, you can see that's much faster than what was depicted in that prior video right there. You can see it even gets faster as it comes out of the gate right here. Let me see. I think it's a second pass. That was pretty quick. Yeah, fairly speedy. You can see it kind of zooms out right there. So I think there's a lot of variability when it comes to the speed of a coaster like this. You can see it right there, super quick. I wouldn't be judging it just yet. We really have to see what this attraction is going to actually be like when people are riding it. Sometimes, I mean, some coasters go so slow, they actually can't get through their courses on some mornings. Those are the changes that could occur when it comes to weather, weight, all kinds of stuff. And theme park proprietors have different ways of dealing with those issues. But when I see something like this, I'm hesitant to overreact just yet. We really have to get on it. This coaster, unlike many, has wild swings in terms of how this coaster actually feels when you're actually on board. For example, when those tracks get heated up and things are moving very, very smoothly at night, this thing's wild. Whereas maybe in the morning when those tracks are cool and so forth, and those ride vehicles haven't had time to kind of warm up and so forth, it can feel a little bit diminished. This is why I'm like, okay, hold on, guys. Let's go ahead and figure this out before we react to it. All right, let me go ahead and see if I can load up our next story. This one is crazy right here. This coming at us from Six Flags, actually. Six Flags apparently overvalued Six Flags Magic Mountain and a couple of other parks. Here you go from KTLA. Magic Mountain is worth $533 million less than Six Flags Entertainment Corporation previously thought, part of a broader reassessment that wiped out more than $1.5 billion in value across the company's portfolio. Why are they saying this? Folks, if it's possible to have a summer so terrible that the valuation of your theme park goes down, that's what happened here. It is wild, wild stuff. I love the Six Flags brand, especially as it's merged with what I thought was a superior brand in Cedar Fair. I like these parks. I want to still go to them. But we cannot deny that there are some major, major problems right here. This by Emom Palm over there at KTLA 5. Magic Mountain hit with $533 million value drop in Six Flags' reassessment. So let's see right here. The write-down was disclosed in the company's latest financial filing and reflects what accountants call, quote, a goodwill and intangible asset impairment. Quote, that extra premium goodwill represents projected earnings, ticket sales, and the strength of the brand over time. On paper, it's an asset, but it's really just a bet on the future. And like all bets, it can go another way than originally anticipated. Dennis Spiegel, CEO of International Theme Park Services, a consulting company for the leisure and attractions industry, said that bet didn't pay off. According to Spiegel, Six Flags' revenue and earnings through the third quarter, including the critical summer months that typically generates nearly half of annual attendance and more than half the profits, came in well below expectations. This is very different from Walt Disney World, right? Where Walt Disney World, people can go 365 days of the year to that location, same as Disneyland and same for Universal parks in large. For Six Flags, remember, they have a lot of regional parks that are only open during the summer months. That's why it accounts for so much of their overall revenue. Future cash flow projections also dropped, and the company's stock price lagged behind competitors. When those expectations fell short, companies are required to reassess the value of their assets. That's what happened here. The formal accounting test found that these assets were overstated. Magic Mountain alone saw $533 million removed from the books. Other major theme parks, including Six Flags Great America, $192 million, Six Flags Over Georgia, $187 million. These are all removed from their valuations here. Six Flags Fiesta Texas, $103 million. Six Flags Great Adventure, $97 million. Six Flags Mexico, $89 million. Six Flags Over Texas, $86 million. And Schlitterbahn, with $50 million, also saw reductions. The result was more than $1.5 billion in non-cash write-downs. However, the quote non-cash phrase means that quote no money left the bank, no gates closed, no rights stopped spinning. This is purely an accounting adjustment, a reset to align the books with reality, according to Spiegel. This is crazy. This is absolutely wild right here. How in the world can you have attendance dip and honestly revenue connected to those to that attendance dip to the point in which your parks actually lose value in like a single year? Absolutely crazy, absolutely wild. This is a really important story to note right here because it really speaks to the financial health and future viability of these original theme parks. Again, a lot of people, they can't go to Walt Disney World all the time. They can't go to Disneyland all the time. But maybe they live next to an original theme park that offers them a little bit of thrill, a little bit of escapism, right, in their own backyard. These parks right here are so important to the overall health of the industry. And to see them suffering the way they are, it's really sad. It's really sad to see. Nobody wants to see this. Nobody wants to see their maybe, favorite theme park closed or maybe even sold off and all of the things that go along with that. This is no good right here, but I felt it was really, really important to actually feature here on this program because, hey, you know what? We cover theme parks and we got to be honest. The theme park industry, not doing entirely well. Big Two are doing great. Universal's doing awesome. Everybody else, oof, they got a ways to go right here. That is for sure. I wanted to go ahead and feature this last story. Multiple times on previous programs, we just couldn't cover it because there was so much news. And there's still so much news. So definitely join us for Vash and Vixen this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern to cover even more theme park news. I think we're also going to cover the Wolfman, because the Wolfman is coming to Universal Fan Fest nights over there at Universal Studios Hollywood for the first time ever, actually, I believe, as a meet and greet character. And we're going to cover that film. Should be kind of a lot of fun right there. I know Vixen is really excited. But here you go, this last one for you. Also occurring at Universal Studios Hollywood. Here you go. This caught by the Cali Bay 5 Fires. While he was over there at Universal Studios, well, guess who was there as well? None other than director Christopher Nolan. What is Christopher Nolan doing over there at Universal? Well, you will know that Nolan now, well, he's a Universal guy. Warner Brothers decided, in their infinite wisdom, to release, I believe, their entire 2022 slate, if I'm not mistaken, all on streaming as well as in theaters. And Chris, well, he didn't take kindly to that and left the studio that he had made so many great pictures with. That's not good. And there was a bidding war for his next project, that being Oppenheimer. And, well, Universal was the only one to really acquiesce to basically all of his demands. And he asked for a lot. Trust me, folks, it was very expensive for Universal to secure Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. But it all worked out. And now he's producing his new Odyssey feature with Universal as well. Actually doing some filming there. If you've been following Hollywood Backlight with Lou and you, I think we covered this a couple of months ago on that program right there, hosted now by Culture Casino. Awesome stuff. But when we were covering this with Lou there, Lou Wilson's Ghost, we were covering this and we saw that they were actually filming parts of the Odyssey over there in Universal's backlot, actually out there at Falls Lake. And we were saying, wow, that's pretty incredible stuff. Awesome that he's actually filming in the States and so forth and filming on this historic backlot. Very, very good to see. But now he's back. And I believe maybe the Odyssey finished up production. I'm not sure right there. Maybe it's in post. I'm not entirely sure about the shooting schedule for Odyssey right there. We know it comes out this summer, I believe on July 17th, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember that date because, they sold the tickets a year out, and they sold out like that. It's crazy stuff right here. This guy, very much in demand, but he was at Universal Studios Hollywood. Why was he there? I actually have no idea, fam. We did see on Universal surveys, this was like, I want to say like 8, maybe a year ago at this time. Not quite sure. But there was a Universal survey that said, if we were to enhance the studio tour, that being the tram that goes in the back lot, what would you want? And one of those things was a Christopher Nolan pull-through or attraction of some sort that you could actually see and experience along the tram route. Maybe something like that is happening here? Don't know. He's in City Walk, so that's very interesting. But he was there. He was there at Universal Studios Hollywood. Very, very interesting stuff. Something I'm really tracking right there. Who knows what's in store for the future of Universal Studios in regards to Christopher Nolan. We do know that they're getting a new, luxury hotel. 500 rooms right there, right at the entrance. They may also be looking at another hotel in this vicinity right here. A lot of great stuff going on at Universal Studios Hollywood. And I guess Christopher Nolan might be part of that. That is so cool. Anywho's, I think that just about wraps up our show over here at Vash Sky ParkCast. We have to hand it off to another excellent streamer, that being Marvin Montanaro over there at M4 Empire. Let's see who's got. Legendary writer Chuck Dixon joins the M4 Empire. Whoa, to talk Batman, Rippaverse, and more. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and send you on over there right there. Hopefully you enjoyed this amazing program that we are trying to provide to you each and every day at Vash Sky ParkCast. Remember, we stream every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and this Saturday, usually we only have it for members only. That being Vash and Vixen, that occurs at 3 p.m. Eastern. But for this Saturday only, it's going to be open for everybody. So come on in, join on the fun right there. We're going to go ahead and make it very, very enjoyable and fun for you. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. I think you're going to love it. And hey, if you're convinced, become a member and join us every single Saturday going forward. Thank you so much for coming on in. Oh, Mary Vita, so glad I made the show. Have a great night, Vash. Thank you so much. Mark coming in here. Oh, it was so fun. It was so fun to be there with you. Look at that. We have Vixen Sky actually in the chat right there. See you Saturday. Indeed, we have a special debut right there as well that will take place on that day. So join on the fun. It's going to be Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I think it's going to be super cool. And people having a lot of reactions to Odyssey. We'll see. Let's see. Let's go ahead and wait for that picture to come out. All right, let's go ahead and get on to the M4 Empire and join, I guess, Marvin and Chuck Dixon as they talk about comics. I think this is going to be super cool conversation. And hey, if you're over there, go ahead and tell them Vash Sky ParkCast Raid. I think that would be so cool. All right, guys. We will see you this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Remember, folks, the sky is the limit.